I started hearing crackling and breaking of branches. And then that same howling kind of more, and I'm like, and then my daughter clenched to me as tight as she could, and she started crying, and she pointed upwards. And up standing on the cliff-type hill was another one. For no reason, it just started growling, grunting noise, and then I just said, run, and we just ran. She was so small at the time that she couldn't run as much. So I was like, okay, I tell you what, here's the keys. Go straight home. I'll hold it off. You call 911. But she refused to go. She was crying and screaming, saying, Mama, no, Mama, no, Mama, no, I can't. I'm afraid. But I picked her up and I ran the rest of the way home. This thing was just like knocking down everything that was in its way. You can hear the stomping, heavy stomping, and just crushing everything in its path, roaring and snarling and growling. And at one point, it was about to jump towards us. Like I said, the first one happened several years ago when I was younger. And me and my friends decided, and my boyfriend at the time decided to go camping in the woods. Nobody wanted to camp too far, so I took him to a spot that me and my uncle always used to go to. Nobody ever goes there. And I haven't been there in a while, so we went. It was close to winter, so it was really kind of cold. And we set up tent, we ate, everything was good. We had a campfire, we were talking, and we heard some noises, but I just calmed my friends down because I didn't want to pack up and leave and trek to the woods at night, a mile away back to the truck. So,
what kind of noises were they?
They were breaking branches and kind of like a moaning noise.
Oh, wow.
And I calmed my friends down. I was like, maybe it's just an owl, maybe it's just a deer, just calm down, because they're not used to camping.
Right.
Only I was the only experienced one. So they took my word for it, they calmed down, and we just continued on about our business. Well, we decided to play games when it came later on that night, because none of them can sleep because they've never been camping before. So the one was truth or dare, the last game was. And they dared a bunch of us to go walk in the middle of the woods at night and see how far one of us could walk without being scared, terrified, and running back to the tent.
Like no flashlights or anything?
Well, I had a flashlight, and I had a pocket knife that I carried with me all the time. And it was me, my boyfriend, and two other friends. The other two stayed behind in the tent because they were a couple, and they're the ones who dared us. So we started walking. Me and my boyfriend were together, and my other friends were a couple of feet away from us to my left. And somehow we got a little bit more separated while we were walking through the woods. And then we started hearing this kind of like panting, grunting noise. And we kept on walking, and I had the flashlight down because I didn't think I was going to see anything. I went to go say something to my boyfriend, and he's pale, staring straight, and then bam, it was like I ran into a brick wall. Next thing I know, I'm looking at a lower chest, not covered in hair. It was kind of leathery, dark, grayish, hard, and I could feel the pounding of its heart and the vibration of its kind of like grunting growl on my face. And I could see the auburn type dark hair like around its body. And I leaned back and I went to look up. And before I could look up, my boyfriend, he threw me over his shoulders and started to run. Well, that's when I became curious and made sure it wasn't chasing after us too. So I pointed my flashlight up and I seen this creature that was way over 7 foot tall. And he was more muscular than they showed in any of the photographs. He had a muscular type body tone, nothing like a bear. His nose was kind of flat with wide nostrils. He had dark eyes that weren't as close together. And his lips didn't puff out as much, but he had canine type looking teeth. I kind of like big bone structure face and really pissed off and really angry. And I looked beside him and there was a nest type thing with moss and broken tree branches and twigs on type of a long circular motion. So I guess we woke it up and it started chasing us and growling, grunting, and you can hear the loud stomps and cracking and breaking what was ever in its way. And my boyfriend's just sitting there running, and I'm freaking out. I'm saying, go, 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 go. It's coming after us. It's coming after us. Go, 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 go. And he's running as fast as he can. And I put the flashlight back up to it, and I'm trying to take out my pocket knife at the same time. And I'm looking at this thing, and it's just like snarling and growling and grunting kind of like noise. And it's just head bent back. I'm like, whether the eyes is like mainly focusing on you with the teeth, and he's just like just pushing everything out of the way, and he's trying to grab at me. And my boyfriend, he just keeps on running and running and running as fast as he could. And then we're back to the tent, and he takes the camping fuel and he throws it on the bonfire. And when he does that, we all just rush back into the tent, and my other friends joined us too, saying that they heard the stomping and the growling and everything else like that, and asking us what was going on. And we were just freaking out, trying to find any kind of weapons that we could that was inside the tent. And we had like an axe. I had my pocket knife, and I would never forget his eyes. His eyes were just in his teeth, and it was just like this kind of like slobber kind of like coming out of his mouth. And it was just, it started circling around our tent. And it was like it was playing with us. It was like rubbing its hand or claw or whatever it was over our tent and then pressing up against our tent. And then you can hear like everything getting destroyed around our tent. And then it did this kind of like moaning, howling, loud, piercing noise to where we had to cover our ears because it was hurting our ears. And it was nothing like a coyote or a wolf or a dog. I mean, it was just this loud, piercing, howling, moaning type noise that I can't explain. And it just kept on continuing trashing our tent area, and just like leaning on our tent and then shaking it. And I'm prepared with an axe. We're all huddled up against each other and we're all holding each other. I'm prepared with an axe. I gave my boyfriend my knife, and we're all just like, one of my friends had a cast on a skillet, and we're just all just sitting there just hovering close to each other, like covering each other's mouths, trying not to make any noise or anything, like just trying to stay silent. But we're all shaking and scared. And a couple of my friends actually, even my boyfriend, peed himself. And it was just, we didn't sleep at all that night. It went on for, it seemed like hours, and we were just all just sitting there terrified. And one of my friends was like, maybe we should run for it. Maybe we should run for it. And I'm like, no, let's just stay in the tent. Let's just stay in the tent. His power just messing with us. Let's just stay in the tent until morning. And we waited until the sun came up, like right when the sun started to rise. We didn't hear anything for a while. So my boyfriend went to the tent and opened it up and slowly and looked and peeked around. And he had my pocket knife in his hand, and he didn't see anything, just a bunch of trash and just debris from all of our stuff. And our campfire was completely just like all over the place, and it was just wrecked out there. And I mean, everything was out there. We haven't even put hardly most of our stuff in the tent yet. And so we just grabbed each other, grabbed our personal belongings, and we just ran out of there as fast as we could. Well, we ran, like I said, it was about a mile away from the truck. We ran and ran and ran and ran, like our life depended on it. And we can hear breaking of tree branches as we were running back to the truck. We ran and we got in the truck, and we didn't go back until later. We were armed this time with, firearms, and it was me and my boyfriend. And to retrieve what was left of our camping gear and to make sure we weren't going crazy or something. And a couple of my friends refused to go back with us, so we just went, and then we heard the same kind of grunt, kind of like angry, kind of like snarling, and branches breaking, and we just said, forget it, leave it all here, and we just went back to the truck. And this time we went up this dirt road, like it's an old path for horses and ATVs. We went up there with the truck, so we didn't have to, it was probably like more of a half mile. So we just went back to the truck, and we never been back since. And my ex-boyfriend never went to the woods ever again since then. And none of my friends, except for one, ever went back into the woods since then.
I mean, that sounds absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, and nobody wanted to talk about it because we all assumed that they would say we were crazy and put us in a mental institution, or, just avoid us or not wanting to talk to us. Or so we just all kind of made a pact to forget it. It happened, it's done, just move on type of thing. Yeah, and I even suffered, we all suffered actually from nightmares for a while. And like I said, most of them never did go back to the woods except for one. Me, I love the woods. So it took me a while. I started rappelling at first for a couple hours in another state, not in the state that it happened. And then that led up to hiking for a couple hours in another state, once again in Alabama, in Cheehaw. And then I started camping, first a day at a time, then 2 days at a time, then 3 days at a time, until eventually I got over my fear of being in the woods again. And, you have to sign a release form because there's mountain lions out there. But I'm like, after what I face, I'm not afraid of a mountain lion. I'd rather deal with a mountain lion. So, yeah, you have to sign the release form every time you go out there because there is mountain lions out there.
Wow.
But, yeah, I'm not afraid of mountain lions after what I faced. It's just, oh, my God. I faced bears. I faced mountain lions. I faced coyotes. And nothing was as terrifying as this. And I never thought it was going to happen to me again. And I thought it was just a one-time thing. I thought it was done. But then several years later, done got married, done got divorced, had a child with my ex-husband. And me and my daughter were walking. Like I said, I live in the boonies, wooded area. It's a rural area at that time. We were walking back from the store. And it's about a mile away from our house. We were almost halfway to our house, and I started hearing crackling and breaking of branches, and then that same howling kind of more, and I'm like, it just brought me back. And then my daughter clenched to me as tight as she could, and she started crying, and she pointed upwards. The roadside goes flat, but up at this type of cliff hill type area is where the woods are, and they built the roadways down below. And it's a big drop. And up standing on the cliff type hill was another one, except for this one was just a little bit smaller, not as muscular, and it was solid black. But everything else was just the same. And it did just the same. For no reason, it just started growling, grunting noise, and then I just said run, and we just ran. And like I said, I always carry a pocket knife. I put out my pocket knife, and we were running, but she was so small at the time that she couldn't run as much. So I was like, okay, I tell you what, here's the keys, go straight home, I'll hold it off, you call 911. But she refused to go. She was crying and screaming, saying, Mama, no, Mama, no, Mama, no, I can't, I'm afraid. And I'm like, please, just go, here's the house keys, run, I'll hold it off. And just call 911 as soon as you get there. But she refused to go, so I don't know how in the world I did this. But I picked her up, and I ran the rest of the way home with her, carrying her. And it's hot. I mean, it was like around summertime, and it was extremely hot here in Georgia. And I really don't know how I did it, but this thing was just like knocking down everything that was in its way. You can hear the stomping, heavy stomping. Both of them, heavy stomping, like they weighed a ton, and just crushing everything in its path, roaring and snarling and growling. And at one point, it was about to jump towards us. So that just motivated me to run even faster. And I don't even remember, but next thing I know, I'm halfway in my driveway. And then I stop hearing breaking tree branches, but then I run up to the carport, I threw her inside the house, and then I turned around and to look to see exactly where it was. And it stopped right at the end of my driveway. My driveway is like really long, and it's gravel, and it's surrounded by a tree line. And at the end of my driveway, right next to the tree line, it's just standing there, hunched over, with his teeth showing, just growling and panting with his chest, and just glaring at me like I did something horribly wrong.
Just angry.
Yeah, just extremely hostile, like it wanted to kill me. Like the back of my hair, just like the first one, the back of my hair on my neck just started standing up all over my body. And then my daughter started, and I'm just captivated by it. I don't know what happened. I guess I went into shock or something, but I'm just staring at it, and it's staring at me. And my daughter, all of a sudden I hear my daughter, Mama, please shut the door. Mama, please shut the door. Please shut the door. And then she went to run up to me to slam the door, and I just automatically just slammed the door and just shut it, locked it. And then I held her and just sat down in the corner, and she was just crying, and she was so upset. And I sat there, and I just held her for a while. And then I got a cold cloth for her face, got her a cold drink of water, and made her slowly sip on it to calm her adrenaline down. Because soda usually does calm the adrenaline down and just calm her down. And just after about a couple hours, she finally calmed down. But she slept in my bed, which she never did unless she was sick, for about a month after that. And then I finally got her to sleep in her bedroom again. But then she had constant nightmares. And it was tough for her because she couldn't tell anybody what the nightmares were about, because she was afraid of the same thing, that they were going to tell her, oh, it's just a dream, oh, you just made it up, oh, you're just whatever, not believing her. And so I just was the only one basically she could talk to about it.
I mean, what did you tell her? Like, what did you tell her it was?
I told her about my first experience, and she was shocked that I never told her about this before. And she Yeah, she was quite young. She was about 10, 11 years old when this happened. So she couldn't really comprehend it, couldn't really understand it, and why it did what it did, because she loved animals just like me, you know. So she thought that everything was cute and everything was friendly, and, you know, she didn't want to think anything different. And so she thought it was evil. And I told her about what happened to me before. And I told her that it's scary, it's terrifying, but I'm here with her. I'm here to comfort her. And I would never let anything happen to her ever. And I would make sure of that, because I'm her mom and I loved her very much with all my heart. And I just constantly had to talk to her, and I constantly had to explain to her that you're not crazy. This has happened to people before. People just don't like to talk about it because it's not what other people consider normal. But we're not crazy.
And this was like during broad daylight in the middle of the day.
Well, the sun was setting because, like I said, she was, you know, kind of young. So walking that far, you know, was kind of tiring her out a little bit. So she was kind of walking slowly, and I was walking slowly with her because, you know, I don't want to leave her alone. So we got back kind of late. I was trying to get back before the sun started setting, but the sun was actually setting at that time, and it was fixing to go all the way down at that time.
Why do you think it chased you guys like that? I mean, the first one I understand. I mean,
yeah,
you know, you ran into it, woke it up, you know, ran into its home, not supposed to be there. But the second one, that's really strange. Like, what do you think was going on?
I have no idea. I had one comment on my page saying that maybe one of its offspring followed you home, because now that wooded area is a mini subdivision now. Because, like I said, this happened years ago. So that wooded area that we used to go camping in, and that the incident happened, is a mini subdivision now. So they were like, this one guy was saying that maybe that offspring followed you home with a sin. And I'm like, yeah, but it was years apart from each other, so it couldn't hold on to a sin for that long.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, well, what was the distance between the first incident and the second incident? Because 40 miles is nothing. And I'm like, I don't know, probably about like a 25, 30-mile distance between the first incident and the second incident. I mean, I literally have no idea, especially when it sees me with a child. Like, why would it be so angry and hostile and aggressive?
Yeah, that's weird. The only thing I can think of is, you know, obviously you guys took off running, which I completely understand, and maybe that triggered it to chase you for some reason.
Yeah, because they, like, maybe it smelled our fear, or maybe we disturbed it when it was trying to eat something. We walked past it at the wrong time. I mean, I went over this time and time and time again, because the first one, like you said, I can understand, but the second one is way beyond comprehension. Like, and like, people, they really rarely see a glimpse of this thing, or if they even see one at all. Why do I have to be the one who ran into two? Like, seriously.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It feels very personal whenever it happens. I don't know if it is personal, but it feels very personal.
Because I did go shooting in those woods all the time with my uncle. I'm practicing archery, and I did go camping in the same woods with my uncle all the time. I just haven't been in a while since that incident occurred. So I don't know, maybe it just walked onto my scent, or I try, every time I go in the woods, I try not to wear deodorant that you can smell, or any kind of perfume, or any kind of shampoo, or anything else like that that has a scent to it. So it couldn't be that.
Is Bigfoot something you had like heard about in the area before all this happened?
No, I've heard about people seeing things, and my not too far from there, this guy had many kind of, I guess you would say, type farm. He had like a couple of goats, a couple of chickens, and a couple of his chickens kept on going missing. And one or two of his goats came up missing, and he would always blame like teenagers and stuff in the area. I heard of people hearing the howling noises, but blaming it on coyotes, and I heard of people seeing Bigfoot before, and I'm like, oh yeah, cool. And I've seen that movie from the 80s. What was that movie called?
Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah, and so I thought Bigfoot was like that.
Yeah,
I thought Bigfoot was like all nice and friendly and just want to give you hugs and flowers and, you know, nice to pet. So I thought Bigfoot was like that. But what I got was completely different. I'm like, that is not like the Bigfoot at all. Like, I call BS on that.
During your first experience, you know, whenever you're out there and you had heard the noises and everything, and I mean, you ran into this thing.
Yeah, my face.
Like, what was going through your head whenever you ran into it? What did you think happened? Did you think you had like ran into a person or a bear or?
Well, at first I thought it was like a brick wall, and then I thought it was just one of my crazy friends playing a prank on me. And then I seen his fur and everything, and around his chest. It wasn't on his chest or on his face, but it was like around his chest. And like I said, I didn't see his face because before I could look up, my boyfriend done grabbed me and ran, so I didn't get to see his full body and his face until he was taking off with me. But at first I thought it was just like I ran into a tree or something, or I ran into something else, or one of my friends were playing a prank on us, or like dressed up in a costume.
Something very solid. Like
Yeah, but it was very, very, very solid. It was like almost knocked me down type solid. And my face was on it for a minute, and then I heard and felt the vibration and the pounding of his heartbeat and the vibration of his growling, type grunting roar. And before I can like slowly look up, my boyfriend just grabbed me and ran. And because it was just like, I was shocked, and it just stood there for a second. And then what was curious about it, that it waited about 30 seconds before it started chasing us. Because I'm sitting there looking back at it with a flashlight, and I'm able to see the whole thing and able to see all these features and the nest and everything. And it just like waited maybe less than 30 seconds. But it just waited a minute, and just like with his head tilted down, the eye piercing, mouth open, just sat there and stared at me and then it was like it was toying, trying to like give us a head start. I don't know what it was doing, but then it started chasing us.
I mean, all you can do is really speculate, and you know, I have no idea, but it sounds like possibly, for whatever reason, it was kind of shocked by the whole incident, you running into it, and you know, everybody being out there in the woods all of a sudden, and maybe it was trying to decide what to do, and since you guys were running, it just chased after you.
Yeah, because it was late at night, and we were just young and dumb and playing a stupid game, and we thought the most that we were running into maybe a coyote or a deer or something.
These things are known for running people out of the woods. They're known for like following people out of the woods, bluff charging people to run them off out of areas and stuff. And the behavior that you're describing really sounds like that. Like it was just trying to get you guys to leave, and you guys didn't leave. because you were terrified.
Sunset, yeah.
But the tearing stuff up and pacing around the camp and everything while you guys are huddled together in the tent, that definitely sounds like a display to try and get you guys to leave the area, in my opinion.
We were too afraid to get out of the tent. We know the tent is not strong or anything. It's not steel or anything, but still, we were just like, we ain't going out there and trying to face that again. Heck no. I'd rather stay in the tent. No. Unless it rips open the tent, I'm not going nowhere.
Humans definitely feel that if you can't see something, it's safer for whatever reason.
And I think we were like, I was trying not to go into shock. I was trying to get one of my girlfriends not to go into shock. And we were all trying to cover each other's mouths from saying or screaming or anything, trying to make no noise. And like I said, a couple of them, had accidents. But, I mean, we were just terrified. We were just huddled together. And then that story I remember reading the book about that story up in the mountains. I forgot where it was. It was Snow Mountains, and it was like back in the 70s where that big old group just disappeared. And then they found their bodies like dismembered later in ditches and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. That just flashed in my head, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. That's how I could think, is like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to die.
I mean, I think anybody would have those thoughts at that moment.
Yeah, and then the second time, my most fear was protecting my child. And it's like, I was ready to fight this thing off with a pocket knife just to protect my child. And I was going through plans in my head on like what to do, like where to stab it to most harm it and where the major arteries might be, and just to protect my child and to shield my child. That was all I was thinking about, is to shield her and protect her.
The one that followed you to your house, did you have any more incidents at that house after that? Like, did you notice anything weird? Like, do you think it might have been coming back to the house after that?
Yeah, that's for my daughter. She's grown and she's moved out now. But she was always afraid to go outside by herself. She would never go outside by herself. Especially when the sun started setting, she would never go outside by herself. And to this day, she won't, even when she comes down, she won't be out there by herself. Because I never saw it, but I had things thrown at me while walking the dog, had branches crackling and breaking, hear that awful, god-awful howl that penetrates your ears and it hurts. It was like a moaning type loud howl. And I mean, it pierces your ears, but then after a while, things started calming down. I mean, I still have a couple, tree branches breaking and crackling, but that's not abnormal for this area, so I just try to brush that off as, it's normal. It's probably just from weather or corrosion or something.
Yeah. You talked about you and your uncle shooting in the woods in that area and everything. Is that an area where people hunt and actively have firearms and stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, nobody technically owns that area, and nobody really knows about that place. And that's how he taught me how to hunt. And that's how he taught me archery. And that's how he taught me how to shoot all types of guns. And we used to go target practicing there when it was a hunting season, or if he had enough meat, because I was taught never to kill anything unless it was in extreme self-defense or you needed food. That was the only two times you killed anything. That was the rule. And we never killed does, only bucks. And he taught me how to de-gut them and everything else. Taught me about different plants and different species out in the woods and what to do and what not to do. and stuff like that.
So this is an area where people hunt and stuff.
Well, we didn't tell anybody about that area. And my uncle, he had one friend who knew about the area, but he moved away. So he no longer went to that area. And like I said, before that incident happened, it was a while since I went back to that area, because that's when I discovered another area that had a waterfall and had a stream and had more mountain and more hiking type of things to do.
Yeah.
So I started going to that area instead. But since they weren't used to that type of stuff, I decided to take them to this area. That way nobody would bother them. They wouldn't worry about anything. But obviously that was a mistake of my own.
I was just curious because here in Oklahoma, especially southeastern Oklahoma, there's kind of a rumor, a belief that the Bigfoot in that area are more aggressive and behave more like what you're describing that you experienced. And one of the theories about why that might be is because that area is a rural area with lots of hunting and lots of people who, shoot guns all the time, and would be a type of place where if one of these things came up poking up around a house or something, they might get shot at. And so they might be more temperamental, whenever it comes to interactions with people. And so I was just curious if maybe that might be the case where you were at.
I mean, maybe there was other people out there when I wasn't there previously, because like I said, I wasn't there for a while before then. So maybe there was people out there that discovered that area. I can't really be too sure on that. I know my uncle, he started trucking, so he hadn't been back there at that time. So I know it wasn't him out there shooting his gun or hunting or anything.
Have you talked to anybody in the area that's had a Bigfoot experience after you've had experiences?
No, this is actually the first time me coming out about it, because I figured it was time. And also I still occasionally have nightmares. And I figured if I talked about it and wrote about it and just released it, maybe the nightmares and everything else will kind of slow down a little bit. I mean, even at nighttime, like I said, I live in a rural area. There's no street lights down here. So when it gets dark, it is dark. You can't see like a hand in front of your face. But I still have to walk my dog at night. But I try to stay within my spotlights, because I'm still kind of squeamish a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I still trying to make my dog hurry up. Like, come on, just pee. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because I would definitely pick him up, throw him over my shoulders, and dart inside the house. But I'm hoping that it doesn't come back and that it won't come back.
I mean, you had two very frightening experiences. So, I think anybody would understand, A lot of people always say, oh, I want to see one so bad. Everybody wants to see one.
Oh, no, you don't. No, you don't.
Not all experiences are good ones.
No, both times I literally thought we were going to physically get hurt, if not killed.
I can tell you this much, and I don't know if this will ease your mind at all, but I mean, you saw these things. They could catch you if they wanted to.
Yeah, and I heard stories about the one mountain neighborhood. I mean, the one mountain area, or the Oregon, where the legendary Bigfoot trail hike, about a bunch of hikers coming up missing there, especially women hikers.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. haven't heard that story.
Yes, I was just looking up a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, I was just looking up a whole bunch of stuff trying to ease my mind, but it just made me more paranoid.
Yeah. See, the problem is people like the scary stories, especially on the internet. So people are more prone to make up scary stories a lot of times. And then, of course, as you've recently found out, everybody on the internet is a Bigfoot expert and knows everything about them. And knows everything, whether, you know, someone's telling the truth or not, if a Bigfoot would really do that or not, you know, everything. I can tell you this, I've been doing this for about 25 years now. For around half of that, I was going out in the woods looking for these things on a regular basis. I've had my own encounters and experiences. Obviously, I live to tell about it. And after that 25-year period, I can honestly say, whenever it comes to these things, we know some basic things like what they look like because of people like yourself that have seen them. But as far as why they do what they do, how they stay hidden, all those things, nobody knows anything. We're really completely clueless. But like I said, what I do know is that something as strong and powerful and as large as they are, if they wanted you, they would have gotten you. So while your experiences were very scary and very terrifying, I think they were just really trying to get you to leave the area, just trying to scare you, which they accomplished.
Yeah, oddly, that makes me feel really, really bad because I haven't been back to that spot since. And then years later, they bulldozed it and turned it into mini subdivisions, like everywhere, mini subdivisions now.
Yeah.
I swear you're gonna have to. Your grandchildren are gonna have to go to a museum to see a tree. But, I mean, it's kind of shameful, and I moved to that rural area because, you know, I like the woods, I like the peace, I like the quiet, I like the birds, I like nature, and I just never thought that would happen to me out there again. And it was just like, seriously, me twice? What the? I'm like, and especially that it happened to my daughter, and it had such an effect on her, and I felt so bad. And the only reason why we walked to the store is because my car at the time broke down, and we needed something for dinner that night, so we had no choice but to walk to the store.
I mean, I get it. You know, as a parent, like, your job in life is to protect your child and to keep them safe. And whenever you're in a situation, I can only imagine what it was like for you.
Yeah, and that's all I was thinking about, making sure that she was safe, making sure, I mean, I would throw my body on top of hers and let it just attack me.
Well, I'm glad it didn't come to that.
Yeah, I know, but I really, really, I mean, I would do anything for my daughter.
Have you had any experiences with other stuff? Like, have you seen UFOs or ghosts or anything?
Yeah, I think I'm being insane. Okay, well, this is another completely story. I swear, I think I'm freaking cursed. Anyway, when I had my daughter, I died, and I woke up in ICU 3 days later. They had me hooked up to every single machine you could possibly imagine. After a bunch of tests, I died again because they took me off the machine in order to do the test. They brought me back, and they diagnosed me with double pneumonia and a rare heart condition, a rare heart disease called postpartum cardiomyopathy. And 1 in a million women get it after they deliver a child into this world. And lucky me, I was 1 in a million. So, but I really, really wanted to see my daughter, but couldn't because I was up in the heart ward, connected all of those machines, and she was downstairs in the nursery. So it took me about 3 weeks before I see her again. But anyway, about 6-7 months later, when it was time for my first defibrillator implant, they put it in, and everything was fine. But then I ran the battery dead a couple years later, and they put another one in, but it was recalled. So a couple years later, it shocked me and kept on shocking me until when I was in the shower, it kept on shocking me and shocking me because the wire was recalled. It was actually unraveling inside of my heart. And it shocked me, and my daughter is the one who discovered me on the floor. I crawled from my bathroom into my bedroom floor. She called my mom, and she called 911. And next thing I know, the EMT's there, fire department's there, police officers are there, and an EMT tries to touch me, and he gets shocked. Because whoever touched me when I get shocked, they feel 15% of the shock. He slams up against my dresser, and so everybody's afraid to touch me after that. So they just wait and sit there and watch me get shocked until my battery for my defibrillator blew up in my chest. Well, they finally put me on a gurney, took me to a hospital, but they took me to the wrong hospital. The right hospital was 25 minutes away because there was no cardiac surgeons at the hospital that they took me to. So, but plus traffic, it was in Fayetteville. By the time I got there, and they admitted me and they was going to do emergency surgery on me, I died on the table. And every single time I died, I had this kind of falling backwards slowly into a tunnel. And it was dark with like little twinkle bits of light around me. Very rare twinkle little bits of light around me. And I felt like unconditional love, like surrounded. And I felt like super, super, super happy. I mean, so happy that I can burst. And I felt really lightweight and like I was floating on warm water. And it was just very peaceful. But every time they brought me back, it was like riding a roller coaster up from out of that water. And then all of a sudden, bam, you get hit with confusion. You get hit with pain. You get hit with altered vision, altered hearing, a big weight on you, and just terrified every single time. And then again, another time. So 4 times in total in the past 20 years.
Wow.
And every single time that happened, I've had the same experience. And I don't know if it was like a temporary crossing, like a holding pattern, trying to decide, hey, are we ready for it or not? Or if it was actually the real thing.
Did you see anything besides just the twinkling lights?
No, it was completely dark except for it was like these tiny little stars.
Mm-hmm.
Like rare though. They would just twinkle and disappear all around me. And I just, even though I didn't see anybody, I felt surrounded by loved ones, like people who loved me or things that loved me. And I mean, just powerful love, peace, lightweight, no pain, relaxing, floating on warm water. And I was never been so happy before in my life. I mean, I could literally like just burst. And every single time it was the same thing. But ever since then, I've seen my grandmother, I've seen my uncle, and I've seen a friend that died in a car accident, and I've seen my aunt who died of breast cancer when I was 12.
Like, do you see them all the time or just once?
No,
or?
just I just seen them all once. And all of it, my debut was right before I got in a car wreck. Me and my friend on my 16th birthday, got T-boned. And that was before all that happened, so I can't explain that one. But we got T-boned, and I blacked out for a while. And I got really injured. I was on bed rest for like 3 months. I seen my grandmother shortly after the first time I died. And I seen my friend who was in a car wreck who died on the 4th of July. he was on his way to meet me. He was just going to go home and get changed first, and he ran into a tree. May he rest in peace. He was supposed to meet me at Stone Mountain, and I guess he was in a hurry. But I seen him, and it was all just once. It was all when I was going through really tough experiences, like the car wreck, or just really just tough experiences. Every single time I had surgery, or every single time I had complications with my heart, I had to heal on my own. I just basically just got dropped off and like, okay, bye. And I can't lift up my left arm for a couple weeks after every time I have a surgery. So yeah, it's just me trying to make it on my own by myself every time.
My granny, which was my great grandmother, you know, I grew up in a house. I've talked about this on the podcast before. That, for lack of better words, was haunted. Stuff was going on here before I was ever born. But whenever I was a kid and something would happen and scare me, and, you know, I'd go to my granny and tell her about it, you know, looking for some sort of answer, you know, what is happening. She would always tell me, oh, that's just so-and-so, you know, whenever people that love us pass away, they become our guardian angels, and they're there looking over us and making sure we're okay. And it sounds like maybe she was right, and that's what you're experiencing.
That's exactly what my grandmother said too. And me and my grandmother, we were very, very close. When I was in Florida, she actually was the one who raised me until my mom took me back and brought me up here. But she's the one who named me. She raised me. She taught me how to cook and manners and clean. My uncles taught me how to hunt and fight and go deep sea fishing and surfing. Yeah. And so, yeah, and defend myself. Oh, yeah, and how to empty out bowls of candy on Halloween without getting caught. Me and my Uncle DJ used to do it all the time.
Sounds like a pretty good uncle.
Yeah, but I felt bad, so I went back and left an apple. That the neighbor gave me.
Guilty.
Yeah, I always had a conscience. Dang it. That's why I can never be a cheater or anything, because I always had a conscience.
Well, Christina, I appreciate you coming on here and sharing your stories with me and the listeners, and I commend you on having the bravery to come forward and share your stories publicly. I mean, I know that's a huge step in the process, and I'm glad you took it. I hope it helped. I know that listeners who have had their own experiences and they hear people like yourself sharing their experiences, I've gotten lots of emails from people about how it helps them, and they truly appreciate it. So I hope that helps you, at least knowing that.
I hope it helps me too, because at night I still cover my windows with the curtains and everything else too. That way, you know, nothing like what's in my window or anything. And the nightmares is like the worst ones. Still get the occasional nightmares and stuff. So we made a pact the first time, and then the second time, yeah, I kind of promised my daughter I wouldn't say anything, because after she calmed down a little bit, she was just thinking about people thinking that we were crazy. So.
Well, you're not crazy.
Yeah, now that she's grown, I can finally like open up about it and try to see if it would help my nightmares and help me around here.
I think, you know, the more you come to terms with your experience and share it and talk about it and accept that it happened and that you're not crazy and that everything's okay and you made it and you're fine. I think that might help with the dreams. I think that might help with the nightmares.
Yeah, and I don't know what other people have saw, but the thing that I see looked more human-like than ape, except for it just had a bigger bone structure and darker eyes and that leather skin and the canine type looking teeth. But other than that, it looked more kind of like disfigured human-like than it did an ape.
Yeah, the way you described it is very similar to the face of the one that I saw. I didn't see the large canine teeth, but I didn't see any teeth. It never opened its mouth.
Both of mine over this mouth, I can never forget that snarling with the drool, and it's scary.
And if you've had your own encounter with Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, or anything else unexplained, come on here and share your story. Others want to hear it, and it might help you and them in the process. You can email me at bigfootcrossroads@gmail.com, and if you get a chance, check out the website bigfootcrossroads.com. You can find links to my social media, past episodes, merchandise, everything you need, all in one place. And until next time, remember, there's something in the woods.